Yeah, we got a non-compliant one here at the Micron plant. And we got security all over. Because this guy won't let us put a laser to his head. They've called the backup and the reinforcements, and everyone's standing around trying to figure out, what are we going to do with this guy? There's the truck, there's the machine that would unload me right now. Oh, we got more security officers. So 1, 2, 3. There's one getting in his door right there. Right there in the passenger seat, or maybe that's the driver's seat. It's reversed because of the mirror effect. All because this guy won't let us put the laser to his forehead. And they all know that it has nothing to do with actual sickness or disease, confining a disease. Everyone here knows that. Everyone here involved in this knows that it's not about a disease or confinement thereof. It's about control and authority. And like it says on A Bug's Life about these ants, these grasshoppers say we need to keep these ants in line because they outnumber us 1,000 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. And it's not about the food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's what it's about right now. It's not about delivering that load. It's not even about taking his temperature. It's about making sure that everyone that witnessed this experience knows, you little peons, you stay in line. And there is no negotiation. You do it our way. You let us take it to whatever part of your body we want, whatever device we use. And that's the name of the game. And I've been here for 20 minutes, them trying to figure out how they're gonna either tell this driver, okay, have some other driver bring it back who's willing to let us do whatever we want in the name of security, in the name of security, COVID security. Today's threat level is at orange, so we need to do the double test. Maybe come back tomorrow and the threat level will have gone down. See what I'm saying? They're implementing their whole new set of laws. And there's Deputy Dog and his reinforcements right there trying to figure out, well, how are we gonna do this? Are we gonna unload him on that side of the fence? Because he's not allowed on the property. As you can see, I'm right here in the gate. And when he tried to hand me a mask and take my temperature with a laser to my forehead, I offered him the wrist, telling him it works just as well. The veins are closer to the surface and you can actually get a more accurate temperature reading using the wrist. He said he called up to the offices and they say, no go. You're not gonna be admitted if you don't let us take temperature on your forehead. Here we are 20 minutes later. That guy's from Ezark, the company who I'm delivering the load for, to Micron. Ezark is in Utah, it's only 5 hours away. I'll turn this truck around and drive it back 5 hours, same way I came. And so they're trying to figure out, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna just say, okay, we'll take the temperature on your wrist and move on so we can unload this load? Hell no! It's about compliance, and you're not gonna get your way with us. Are they willing to put their money where their mouth is? Absolutely. It's not about making money. It's about authority and power and exercising their power over you. So, I watched the security guard in the blue shirt put the thermometer up to his wrist to see if it came out with the same reading as it does on his forehead. The answer is yes, it works the same. Will they let me in? No, because it's not about taking your temperature. It's not about controlling a disease. It's about controlling your behavior. Behavior modification program that we're in the midst of. And it would be contrary to our objectives. We would be undermining our own purposes and objectives if we let you engage in whatever behavior you want. It's not about controlling a disease or taking your temperature. It's about the complianceocracy, as I've described in California. A meritocracy is where people are promoted based on their merit of what they can perform, contribute, create, and produce. A complianceocracy is where people are rewarded and promoted according to their ability to comply and force others into compliance. They get rewarded and promoted if they can force compliance out of other people. These security guards are probably happy to finally see somebody standing up for what's real and true and retaining what we have left of our human dignity and the life as we have known it. You're welcome. I hope more of you join me and decide when and where it's worth it to you to put your money where your mouth is. Because I'm ready to turn this truck around. I'll drive it back to Utah, and they'll have to make sure next time they order a load, they're gonna have to make sure the driver knows you have to be COVID compliant with whatever regulations, protocols, and procedures we have in place that day, because this is Micron law around here, corporate law. We don't care what the government says. We are the law here at Micron. If we say bend over, you bend over. And in order to get this load, you're gonna have to sign on. You're gonna have to get COVID compliant drivers and non-COVID compliant drivers, and companies like Micron that want to maintain absolute unanimous conformity to the consensus. Unanimous conformity to the consensus is their goal. That's why they cannot let one driver out of line, and they are willing to bring the whole show to a stop. He's sitting there watching me rant. He just turned back around. He can see that I'm filming and ranting. That's why they're willing to bring the whole show to a stop, cost themselves the price of this load, because it's not about making money. It's about compliance. And they want unanimity. They want it unanimous. Everyone, not a single person who doesn't conform to the consensus that this is just what we do. That's how everyone does it. Like on the movie Rango on Tuesday when they all go to get their water. Sorry, that was a bit of an obscure side note reference. But that's what's going on here. So, maybe I'll hit pause. There's a guy over there hiding behind the pole. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a piece of machinery sitting still. So this is all bringing their show to a grinding halt, because I won't let them put the laser to my head. And they could have just let the show carry on by putting the laser to my wrist. But it's about compliance, not temperature, not disease. It's about compliance. He just told that guy, put on your mask. And that guy said, okay, oh, I will. Unbelievable. So they still got everyone over there on the phone listening to what this guy over here with the blue hard hat on. Oh, apparently he's getting the word. He's getting the word from on high, and they're all bowing their head. The authority must be coming through the voice right there on the phone, and they're all worshiping and praise and listening attentively to what the authorities say. This guy with the blue hard hat. Oh, we must have the official answer now from the official authorities. Survey says it's about compliance, conformity, and behavior modification. Send him away. Just so that everyone that stood around and watched this, and it's about inconvenience, making it more inconvenient for you. Yes, it's all voluntary. Making it inconvenient is how they get you to volunteer. Here we go. Let's see what the answer is. We gonna see what the answer is. I figured they were all gonna come talk to me. They all walked right past me. So 2 of the construction guys walked back there. 2 of the security guys walked over here. Oh, they're breaking it up. What's the word, guys? No one's gonna tell me what's the word? What's the word, guys? They're like, shit, what do we do? I don't know. Let's go call up reinforcements. Let's get the COVID SWAT team on it. Call up the COVID SWAT team. Rolling out. Yeah, they must be going to get reinforcements and backup. Meanwhile, these 2 are about to tell me what they came up with. Let's see what we hear. Looks like Team Resistance won. That's the gate I was sitting in a minute ago, where he's locking up the gate over there. That's the gate they stopped me in. They're gonna unload me here in the dirt. Viva La Resistance! Like I said, nothing else matters is the tune you hear going that I better turn down real quick. before I get hit for copyright strike. So those security guards that were all huddled up right here trying to figure out what to do with me are probably appreciative that there's a few of me left. They're like, wow, this is like a rare breed I heard went extinct in 2019. A free-range human? I haven't seen one of those in, hell, forever. I didn't even know they ever even existed. I thought they were a myth and a legend and that they never even really existed. Because once the history was rewritten, they wrote out the part that there was ever even such a thing as freedom. This guy is a remnant and a relic of the past, of the life that we all once knew before we just accommodated to the new normal. And these guys right here, probably breathing a sigh of relief and a breath of fresh air knowing there's at least a couple still out there fighting the good fight, even though they haven't got it within them to do so at this time and place. Like it says, so afraid of what people might say, but that's okay, 'cause you're only human. You're so afraid of what people might say, but that's okay, soon you'll be strong enough. So afraid of what people might say, but that's okay, 'cause you're only human. So afraid of what people might say, you're gonna break, so please don't do it. It's the end of the world and we know it, know it, know it. That's Nelly Furtado, Afraid. Listen to it, the link is in the description. 'Cause I don't need a Rolex to know what the time is. I'm a leader, not a follower, and I'd rather be paid than popular. Ride, homie, get your dollars up, we in the belly of the beast that already swallowed us. It's the end of the world and we know it, know it, know it. Join in or sit on the sidelines. The consequences will be yours to bear. Regardless of what choice you choose or choose not to choose, that was your choice, is to choose not to choose. Sit on the sideline, wait and see which way it goes, and once the dust settles, pop up and say, it's my side. Yeah, there was like 5 gangs. I was in all of them. Whichever one's winning, that's my side. That shit ain't gonna cut it. We know who you are. And those people that pop up at the last minute when the dust settles and say I was with you the whole time, I never knew you. Some bonus gravy. Link is in the description. 3 military vehicles caught on fire in the last week in Utah. One of them happened to be in Evanston, Wyoming, right on the border. Evanston only goes from exit 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 miles into the state of Wyoming. So they're counting this as 3 military vehicles in Utah that started on fire over the last week. I'll bet you I can tell you where they started on fire from. The engine compartment, where the densest metal is that draws the most microwave energy. I haven't looked into it too far yet. I'm going to include that link in the description along with a timestamp where you can go straight to that part where this guy covers the part about how there's been 3 military vehicles in the last week that lit on fire in Utah, and they're blaming it on a record temperature wave, heat wave. Note here, the United States had an amphibious carrier, one of those craft that does the island hopping. It can go on land and then back into water and then up on land and then back into water. Amphibious assault vehicle. Goes on water or land. We have them. China has them. China had one burn in port for 5 days straight, and there's nothing on those things that can burn. The metal itself is what was burning for 5 days straight in port in China to one of their amphibious assault vehicles. A month later, we have the same thing happen. Amphibious assault vehicle burned for 5 days straight in port. That's directed energy weapons, a back and forth. On that note, another link in the description will talk about how we retaliated against Iran. But for what, you might ask? The guy in the video linked in the description implies that it's for the condo that got collapsed in Florida. Which anyone who's looking into that can see that there was some controlled demolition there. Or directed energy weapons, something of the likes. So this guy, Florida Maquis, claims that this strike that we did in retaliation in Iran, we sent our F-15s and F-14s in to hit militant locations. Not their military, but their militias. You know, little ragtag band of terrorists that are holed up here and there. So did we actually strike Iran and Iran's military or militias? Either way, Florida Maquis says it's retaliation and retribution for that condo that got felled in Florida. So there's 2 links in the description, some bonus gravy. And as far as this goes, I got some major gravy coming up in the next couple of videos, so I'll just wait until then and try and wrap this up. Last time I was at a place where they said, you gotta wear a mask, and I said, I'm not wearing a mask. And they said, well, you tell the guy standing next to my truck trying to kind of talk me into it and say, well, it's only like 2 minutes. You just gotta go in there and sign in and sign out. I said, well, you can bring the paperwork out to me. Well, no, you gotta go check in and check out. Eventually the guy said, well, since you don't care, I'll just check you in on the computer and check you out, since you don't care what time it is. And then you got checked in and checked out. I said, okay. And eventually, on my way out of there, the guy who was kind of trying to hassle me and talk me into it, and he's like, dude, I think it's all crap too, and I can't wait for all this to be over. I explained to him that most places have a secondary option and a secondary program for truckers like myself. He's like, well, we don't have that yet. I'm like, well, I'm helping them establish that secondary option for truckers like myself. And hopefully it'll, I don't know if I said this to him, that hopefully eventually they'll have a secondary option for the employees as well. But he knew, he understands, I'm the thin blue line between total tyranny and the freedom you once enjoyed. And other people like me who choose. Glenn Beck gave a good statement one time. Said that in history, people don't choose to become heroes. They choose not to follow the lemmings over the cliff. When the lemmings are acting so stupid and crazy, someone can just see that you're acting stupid and crazy, and I'm just not gonna do what you're doing. And we call those people heroes in history, but in the moment, they're not heroes, they're just not idiots. And a lot of people, they're not idiots, they're just not strong enough. Soon you'll be strong enough. You're so afraid of what people might say, but that's okay, because you're only human. So afraid of what people might say, but that's okay. Soon you'll be strong enough. Nelly Furtado, Afraid. Link is in the description. So at this other place, that's the first time anyone's refused to take the wrist temperature. Anytime someone busts out one of those lasers I hand on my wrist, they already know the drill. They take it on my wrist, we move on. This guy, I put out my hand, and he puts the thing in my hand like I'm trying to get him to hand it to him. I was like, no, you take the temperature on my wrist. He's like, no, it was like Idiocracy. We have a particular individual here who's a particular individual. Pretend this particular individual won't take the particular individual laser to the particular individual's forehead. He says, this is what we're trained to do. I said, I know, but there's a second way of taking the temperature, and if you just ask them, they'll say that that's okay, it's authorized. Okay, fine. He spends 15 minutes on the phone, comes back to me and says, no go. You're not admitted unless we take the temperature on your forehead. I said, well, then you'll have to get another driver to deliver this load then, I guess. That's when the other guy from Ezard comes up, and I told him the same thing. He's like, well, calm down. I'm gonna see if maybe we can just get you offloaded right over there. Oops. Literally, right there, on this side of that fence. Instead of inside that fence, which is technically on the Micron compound, they wouldn't even let me pull in. I was already halfway in that gate, but instead of pulling in and circling around right here and turning around, I had to back out. Because I'm not COVID compliant, I can't even go the rest of the way onto their property to turn around and come back out. It's ridiculous nonsense. It's the complianceocracy that I've described before that I saw in California long before the COVID and said that's why I don't go to California. This looks like it's like not quite pointed at me. Where people are rewarded and promoted in accordance with their ability to comply with regulation. And they're even given greater rewards and promotions if they can extract compliance from other people, like a security guard who could talk you into just putting the laser to your forehead. Complianceocracy, as opposed to meritocracy, where people are promoted and rewarded according to their ability to contribute to society. In a complianceocracy, you're rewarded and promoted in accordance with your ability to submit to authority. And I remember saying, at least a few hundred times, we must become the authors of our own authority. I even prevented a home invasion robbery in Park City, and I went to the police 3 times, drove up to them in person, gave them the description of the truck that was attempting a home invasion robbery, called them twice on the phone while in Park City to let them know this truck is attempting to con someone into letting them into their house. And as soon as they do, that person thinks it's not going to cost me anything to let you stay with me in my Airbnb, because 50% of the people in Park City are there in Airbnbs. Some fucking crackheads are up there in a $50,000 truck giving people a song and a dance and a story about how we tried to go sell this truck in Wyoming and we're from Nevada and we just need a hotel room overnight. When 30 minutes down the road, on your way back to Nevada in the direction that you're going in Salt Lake Valley, hotel rooms are $45 instead of $450 a night. You might want to try down there. This is a scam going on here. They're trying to get someone to let them stay the night at their house, and when they do, they will rob them. This is what I told the police. Understanding I am the author of my own authority in this case, because the police are powerless to do anything about it until this guy commits the act. I had that guy chasing me around fucking Park City, doing 75 miles an hour in a 45-mile zone. He was chasing me at those speeds. There's no question he was attempting to perform a home invasion robbery on every person that he kept going to with his song and dance and his poor me story. He came to me twice. The first time I said, I ain't got any money. Well, I don't want any money. I was just looking for a place to stay. Well, I ain't got that either. The second time that he rolled up next to my window and I see it's the same dude, he goes, oh, never mind. He realizes he just ran the scam on me 5 minutes ago. How fucked up is this guy on meth? If he don't remember, that's the car we just tried it on 5 minutes ago. After he did that, God put me in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And I threw a wrench into his operation. Being the authors of our own authority is necessary. COVID has proven that there is some validity to that understanding, to that statement that I made a few hundred times. In the year prior to COVID, we must become the authors of our own authority takes on a whole new meaning in the era of COVID, where the authorities are going to make you submit to a state of existence that's no longer even human. We must become the authors of our own authority. And when this guy asked, hey, can I get your name? The guy from Ozark. He's like, hey, can I get your name? Well, I got you right here. Yeah, Jeff Snyder. S-N-Y-D-E-R. And he's sitting there writing down my name like he's going to make a note of this problem driver. I'm thinking to myself, don't you need my autograph? Don't you want my autograph? Yeah, living legend, the last of the free-range humans. But I know that in my efforts of putting a little resistance here and a little resistance there, that's all it takes. Because the other 10 people saw this guy ended up finding a way to make it through without wearing a mask and putting a laser to his forehead. With everything Logic Before Authority is presenting about the nose swabs and self-replicating hydrogel on that spongy bony tissue, that spongy bony material, the cartilage in your sinuses, you think I'm gonna let them put a laser on my forehead? No. The guy on the other end of that laser doesn't even know what it does. Yeah, it may take your temperature. What else does it do? Idiocracy, man. Pure idiocracy. Don't know, I'm baiting. We got a particular individual here, non-compliant. Call in the reinforcements. This world has changed so quickly. Those 3 military vehicles that caught fire are what fuels my fire to stand my ground on these other substances, on these other subjects. Because I know we're that close to the finish line that you're not going to get me to compromise my principles this close to the end game. And one of the things I said that I'm going to re-mention now is don't lie about taking the vax in order to avoid the hassle of the mask. It is completely contrary and undermines our own objectives. When you run around telling people you got the vax and you didn't, can you imagine 2 people standing there right next to each other? Oh yeah, I got the vax. How about you? Oh yeah, me too. And they're both lying to each other. In this information warfare, you are undermining our own objectives if you were to lie about getting the vax in order to avoid the hassle of the mask. So please don't do it. Okay, a couple quick news messages for the tail end of this. How much longer we got left? A few minutes. Will you hold the line when every one of them is giving up and giving in? Tell me, in this house of mine, where nothing ever happens without consequence or cause, tell me, will the stars align? Will heaven step in and save us from our sin? Tell me, is this house of mine stand strong? 'Cause that's the price you pay. Leave behind your heartache, cast away. Cast away. You mean like a seafaring, ocean, maritime terminology of a castaway? There's the maritime reference in that song. Natural by Imagine Dragons. There's more that we're going to go over on these muse messages because they're thick. But also in the song, Believer. Second thing second. Don't you tell me what you think that I can be. I'm the one at the sail. I'm the master of my sea. Oh. The sail. One at the sail. The master of my sea. Be the author of your own authority. We're going to go over some major muse messages. And when you see how thick this embedded subtext within the music and the music videos are, you're going to realize how big of a slap in the face it is to put out row, row, row your boat as an example. Even if there is a truth drop in row, row, row your boat, is there a worse example that you could possibly think of? As a presentation to the first grade truther who's never heard of this, there isn't a worse example you could come up with. And when you recognize how much information is embedded within this music, within these music videos, you will see how big of a slap in the face it is to anyone who's invested their time, effort, energy, and resources into making this music, embedding the information between the lines. Anyone who knows just how rich the content is within these music videos and sees Matt referencing row, row, row your boat, knows it's a slap in the face and an attempt to misguide and mislead people into thinking that's an example of messages embedded within music in order that they will never reach the full rich well, the reservoir. He's going to give them a truth drop, and they will never satisfy that thirst for truth at the well of muse messages within music. Once they've come across Matt and presenting row, row, row your boat as an example where truth was embedded in music, they will never look any further and see all of the real truth embedded within music. They will stop right there and say this is so shallow and superficial and hollow and flimsy that it does not deserve any more of my attention. After I show you how thick and rich the embedded information within the music and the music videos is, you will be able to look at Row, Row, Row Your Boat and recognize there is not a worse example you could use to try to present and convey the idea to somebody that there is embedded information within the music, a subtext beneath the surface. There is not a worse example you could use. And he latched on to Vanessa for a reason. He's out there to undermine that current of people that will start to recognize, I'm going to be able to show you that there is embedded information within these music videos, so much so you don't have to participate and try to stretch your mind or imagine a homophone being replaced with another word. The left brain, analytical, cynical, skeptical person will be able to see, well, yeah, obviously there's a secondary message there, a picture within the picture. And when it's so thick and abundant that even the person who's not trying to see it, it's shown as glaringly obvious to them, unavoidable, undeniable, it will become obvious. Row, row, row your boat is an intentional poison injection into the mind, into the psyche, into the conversation regarding these muse messages. Truth drops embedded within music. Row, row, row your boat. Bitch, please. What's a Nubian? Bitch, you almost made me laugh. I know you like these movie references, man. But that's what that was. And that's why he latched onto Vanessa, because Vanessa's over there tapping into the muse messages, into the embedded information within the music. So he latches onto her and mentions her every video and keeps putting out row, row, row your boat. Do you see what this agent, this operative, what kind of activity he's conducting as a psychological operation, as an inoculation to prevent other people from getting infected? When they come in contact with a full dose of this truth, they'll already have been inoculated with row, row, row your boat, and they will dismiss it. They will be unaffected by it. Just like an inoculation gives you a little piece, so that when you come in contact with a full dose, you're not affected by it the same way. He gives you a little piece of truth, so that when you come in contact with it, you think it's like, oh, more row, row, row your boat shit? Yeah, I've had enough of that. And just for those eager beavers that want to get ahead, instead of waiting for me to do the breakdown, the lyric that I sang, second thing second, don't you tell me what you think that I should be, I'm the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea, is from the song called Believer, where he is in a battle with his future self. It shows his older self, 50 years old. Middle-aged self, 30 years old. Younger self, 10 years old. And he is in a battle, a boxing match, with his future self. And at one point during this boxing match, he says, I want to stop. And his future self says, we can't. And this is the retrocausal language Vanessa talks about a future event that has already happened, but is rippling back onto the past. I'm going to talk about how the only point in time that matters is that threshold where time travel has been discovered. Everything before then is fixed. Everything after that